This is a must on absolutely every single unit, and that is what I consider actually the minimum requirement to getting into RTA. G'day guys, so recently I've had a bunch of you ask me in the comments of all my videos, do I do account reviews? The answer is yes, I do them. I've recently just had a community day where I spent the entire stream just logging in and out of different people's accounts, looking at them exactly, asking them some questions about what it is that they want to try to achieve, and then giving them advice that I think will best help them achieve those goals. If you are interested in maybe getting me to do that, the best way to do that is to catch me when I go live. I always leave a link to my Twitch in the description down below. Feel free to check me out there. I'll also leave a link to my Discord where I do have a help and advice channel. So if you have any questions, you can always just hit me up in there and either myself or one of the other community members will get back to you. In the meantime, let me just show you guys the process and what it is I'm looking for when I get onto your account to try and help you guys progress through as efficiently as possible. So the first thing that I look at is your monster box. Make sure that your monster box isn't too big. You don't want to be spreading your runes too thin. Sometimes it's better off having a smaller monster box of say 10 units that are runed really well rather than runing up 20 or 30 different things that maybe you have the right unit for the niche situation that you do want to bring it into, but because the runes are spread too thin, you don't have the stats required for it to actually fulfill its role. It can't do the thing that it's supposed to do. For example, if you don't have good accuracy on your Savannah or on your Changpeng, well then you know it's not going to push back consistently, so it won't fulfill that role that you're going to require from it. If other units, if you can't get the crit rate on them, well then they're not going to be able to do the damage. So just things like that. So just consolidating your runes, shrinking your monster box down to the fewest units possible is the first step that you want to do, because all that does is going to increase the overall rune efficiency across all of your units in your monster box. Tip number 2 in terms of trying to assess where you guys should be farming is the first thing I look at is your Swift runes. The minimum requirement that I think for anybody playing this game before you want to leave Giants, the absolute you must have is 6 triple speed Swift runes. The reason that you need 6 is because you need to be able to make 2 Swift sets in RTA to ensure that you can give yourself the best chances possible of taking first turn if and when you want it. Now the reason you need 2 sets is because they can always ban 1 unit, so you can never be sure that they're not going to ban your Swift unit. So the reason that I recommend that you need 6 runes is because you can put 3 on each unit with a slot 2 speed. So let me just go through and I'll just quickly rune one up for you sort of now. I've got all of my triple speed Swift runes on here for my Ashir. Now the way that you go about is making your absolute fastest set that you possibly can is you equip your fastest Swift rune into each slot, and then you go through each individual slot and look for the maximum upgrade. So we go to all runes here. You can see here that my upgrade on my slot 6, my absolute fastest rune is only 1 speed faster. So that one there probably isn't going to be an upgrade. My slot 4 here is only 1 speed faster, so that's probably not the biggest upgrade. My slot 3 here is actually the fastest rune, is a Swift rune. So I know on my account that it's my slot 1, it gives me 5 extra speed, so we can put that one on. And then I know it's my slot 5, gives me an extra 4 speed as well. So that's how I go about making my absolute fastest Swift set possible. And you can see here that now that we've done that, I'm using a slot 6, a 4, and a slot 3 triple speed Swift rune, and then I've got my 2 quads here. So you don't necessarily have to have quads. If you have quads, that's fantastic, then obviously you'll be able to get a little bit faster. But even with just triple speed rolls, let me take the quads off and I'll just put my fastest triple speed rolls on that I've got here, which are both 29. This is using nothing but triple speed rolls, and you can see here that we can actually get my shear up to 329 speed, which is fast enough to compete with G3 speeds. That's G2, G3 speeds. You obviously need everything else to come after that too, in terms of the follow-up and the rest of it, the units. And so it's not, this doesn't mean you're going to get G3, but just in terms of raw speed, this is fast enough for me to be up and competing speed-wise with G2 and G3 players if I have this set on an Ashir. Because he has the really high base speed, it just allows me that little bit of extra speed and a little bit more give in the rune quality and the runes that I put on my units. The Ashir is a great free-to-play unit. Another free-to-play option for this sort of role could be the Gingerbrave. That's who I utilize, as I don't have Sekhmet and Triton. I end up putting my faster Swift sets on the higher base speed units, which just increases my overall speed. So as far as your farming goes, definitely make sure you pick up those 6 triple speed Swift runes before you you even contemplating moving on from giants. Until you've got that, I would consider you not necessarily ready for RTA fully, because everybody that you're going to be competing against probably does have that as a minimum, right? So if you do want to be able to compete for first turn, which in Summoner's War, it's such a good strategy. So many times you can just pick up wins purely by outspeeding your opponent. There are many comps running around in RTA right now. A lot of the CC, a lot of the damage first turn comps where they just try to take first turn and have such a big impact that you can't recover and you can't come back from. The best way to beat those guys is honestly just to outspeed them. The team quite often falls apart if you can go first and interrupt their combo. So if you take first turn, you've interrupted them straight away, you can disrupt what they're doing, and then the team can just start to break down from there. So it's a great way for you guys just to pick up some free, easy wins with purely your rune quality alone. There's not much strategy involved with that. It's just if you beat them in terms of the race, you win the battle most of the time. Okay, the next tip that I really wanted to let you guys know is because this is a very common thing that want to jump onto the accounts and look at all the monsters that are runed in people's RTA boxes here, is that the runes that they are using and that you guys have on your units in RTA. So you are using these units right now to compete, and you're not maximizing your potential because you don't have your runes fully grinded and they're not gemmed. So what I mean by this is that basically you can see here all the extra stats that we've got on this rune here. We'll just use this one as an example here. So I've got an extra 9% HP because of the grind for the HP, the extra 5 speed, and because I was able to gem in 11 attack and put on a max legend grind on this one for an extra 10, I've got an extra 21% attack. So it's a lot of stats that you guys are missing out on, and that you really need to consolidate the runes that you have and maximize what you're using to increase your current potential. So you can see here that all of the runes that I've got here have got everything that is able to be grinded is highlighted in yellow because they've been grinded already. And then the little, you can see here the 20% attack, so with the little refresh symbol, that's where I've gemmed in attack there. So we've gemmed in the attack and grinded it out. So every single rune that I'm using in RTA is maximized with all the gems and all the grinds that is capable of going on them. And you can see here, so, and this is for every unit. This isn't just for one unit, this isn't just for the sort of the core units that you want to be using. This is a must on absolutely every single unit that you want to use in RTA, or else all you're doing is you're missing out on stats. You're leaving potential on the table, and you're leaving upgrades, easy upgrades. And the reason that I say they're easy upgrades is because it's a guaranteed upgrade. You can spend a lot of time farming, looking for upgrades with your runes, months sometimes, without actually getting an improvement on what your best rune is. But in R5, eventually every single grind will drop. Every single gem does drop. They take a little bit longer, but they do drop at a much higher frequency rate than getting a potential upgrade on a rune. So again, this is why farming R5, you got to view that as guaranteed upgrades. And in Summoners War, there's very few things that are guaranteed. So every time you can do that, you absolutely must be doing that. And that is what I consider actually the minimum requirement to getting into RTA. Until you have every single rune having a gem and grind on it, you're not actually fully able to compete, and not really fully living up to the potential that you could be doing if you had just had that job done. So it's definitely something that you guys need to concentrate on a little bit more, and just make sure that you do focus on that and that you do pay attention to that. Gems and grinds are not something that you should view as this valuable thing that you should be saving, where it's like, oh, do I bother about putting a grind on this rune or not, or should I save it for when I get a better rune? No, don't save gems, don't save grinds ever, because you always need more R5. It's never a bad thing to be farming R5, and there's no such thing as wasting grinds, because you're all gonna need to go back there anyway to get them. Okay, and finally, the last thing that I always need to go over with people is your artifacts. Almost everybody needs better artifacts. It's just the way it is. Artifacts are one of the most sort of annoying things to farm, because they do take more of your attention in terms of what you're looking for, and you do need to have a bit better of an understanding for most units to sort of know what artifact will be good where. That's kind of how you farm your artifacts. It's not necessarily a hard and fast rule of is this good or is this bad. It depends on which unit it's going to go on for. Some general rule of thumbs that you can sort of use to keep things simpler for yourself is additional damage is always good. So just feel free to pick up as much additional damage artifacts as you can, and some minus, let me show you a minus damage one. I think he's got some minus damage, and minus damage is also good too. So for the left side, minus damage or damage dealt on a particular element is really good. Additional damage on the left side is also really good. And then on the right side, the additional damage. And here you also want to maybe pick up some accuracy on a particular skill, or you could do, where's one I've got accuracy? So you can see here on my Savannah, a skill 3 accuracy for something like Savannah, which it's primarily going to be used for skill 3 with the pushback, is pretty good. Some specific crit damage. Let me show you a crit damage one. So on my Leah here, where her main role is basically to do big nuke damage with her skill 2. So for her, some skill 2 crit damage works really well. So you can see here sort of niche specific units need different things. But if you keep it simple, look for additional damage, look for minus damage, and then just look for efficient rolls. If you ever get 2 max rolls into something and then another roll into a roll that kind of makes sense, and you can see how that can possibly work together. Maybe you've got skill 3 accuracy with skill 3 crit damage or something like that, or you've got some skill 2 crit damage with attack up effect, or it's sort of something that you can go, okay, it's a damage dealing rune, or it's a damage dealing sort of CC rune artifact, so you can sort of, you get a little bit of an idea there. But basically look for things that are kind of like cohesively work together and they're decently rolled. So I mean by decently rolls is I mean like efficient rolls. They're not min rolls. So you can see here when you click on the rune, it brings up and gives you the stat range that it could actually possibly and potentially be. So for the skill 3 accuracy on this one here, it's 2 rolls of 5 where it could have been a maximum of 12. So efficiency wise, it hasn't quite reached the peak of what it could have been. But the fact that this one here mainly is for my skill 2 crit damage, where it triple rolled into it. Again, we're not quite max. It could have been a potential max of 24 crit damage, but 21 means that it is actually above average, with the average being 5 rolls and then bringing it with a total of 20% crit damage. So just efficiency. Look for some efficiency rolls into things that kind of make sense as best as you can with sort of just use your judgment on what kind of makes sense. And if you just look for high rolls and triple rolls in particular for your hero artifacts, that'll do you in good stead just to build up a good base. And even if you can't think of a place that it might go, just keep it. You've got enough space in your artifact box that you can keep these sort of very high efficiency ones, and you might find a home for it down the track. Anyway guys, that's it today. Hopefully this has helped you guys out in terms of just trying to assess where your own account is at. If you do want to try and catch me live, feel free to swing by Twitch, and I do community help days from time to time. But thanks very much for watching guys. Hope this has helped. Leave a like and a comment. That really does help boosting the algorithm and just growing the channel, which I really appreciate guys. It means a lot to me. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next one.